I don't know anyone that doesn't enjoy a good summer sausage. Today, I'm going to walk you through the steps of how we prepare deer sausage. We've already walked through the steps of how we clean the deer, debone the meat, took out the lymphatic system, cleaned that meat once we got here in the kitchen, took off all that silver skin and the fat. Now, deer is very healthy, great tasting meat. And sometimes that wild game taste that you hear folks talk about when they're eating venison, well, that has to do with the fat. The fat isn't like beef or pork fat or bear fat. When it renders down, it is actually pretty tasty. But that fat can actually have kind of a gamey taste. So we removed all that fat and then we ran it through the Cabela's grinder. We prefer to package and store our ground venison in 1 pound packages, and we like to make them flat. And making them flat makes it easy for storage. We can stack those packages up. Of course, you know, a big old nanny doe or big buck makes a lot of ground venison. We can stack those easily, and when we pull them out of the freezer, it's very easy to thaw. They thaw quickly, and we can pull them out, thaw, and be ready to cook depending on what we're preparing. This morning I pulled out about 20 pounds of ground venison, thawed quickly, and we're ready to make summer sausage. I'm going to be making a batch of jalapeno deer sausage, and I'll be using Cabela's summer sausage kit, and it's got everything. It has the casings, the seasonings, and the cure. Everything for 25 pounds of meat. That's right, you can make 25 pounds of deer sausage with one kit. Now, I mentioned I pulled out of the freezer 20 pounds of ground venison. Venison's very lean, so I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna add 20% of pork. I'm gonna cut up this pork butt and we're gonna grind it, and then we're gonna add it to our ground venison. Adding that pork just adds a little fat in the summer sausage so it doesn't dry out through the cooking or the smoking process. I'm going to start cubing this pork. We're going to run it through the grinder once, and then I'll start opening up our venison. We'll get that pork mixed in, and then it'll be time to add our cure and seasoning. The grinder made quick work of that pork. Now it's time to add the venison. While my hands are clean, I'm going to go ahead and swap out the plate for the stuffing tube, start preparing the grinder for summer sausage. Now, before I started cutting and grinding the pork, I went ahead and took the casings out and put them in warm water. Let them soak about 25 to 30 minutes. That way, they're very pliable when it comes time to stuff. You could tell when I was adding the venison, it was very lean. There wasn't any fat in there. But now, after I've mixed in the pork, there's a little fat throughout, and it's time to add the cure. Now, I've got the cure package here. We're doing 25 pounds of meat, so I'm using it all. I'm gonna put it in 2 cups of water, stir it up, and then I'll mix it into the meat. So I'm gonna mix this in really good. I wanna make sure that cure gets all the way through all the meat. So I'm just going to take my time and really work it over. I'm going to mix it in really good. And once that's mixed in, it's time to add the seasoning. Now, I don't want to add it all at once because it'll kind of gum up. So sprinkle it in a little bit, mix that in, then we'll mix more in. And you'll notice now with the seasoning and the cure in there that the meat's starting to become a little more tacky, and that's good. That's what we want. And what's really nice about this, you know, that we're making 25 pounds, so the whole package, but you can measure it out. If you only want to make 15 pounds of jalapeno and 15 pounds of original, or, you know, you can measure it all out, and depending on how much summer sausage you want to make and what type and when you want to make it, you can save this back and have more for another day. And I'm always looking, making sure I'm not seeing areas that seem unseasoned, you know, some red areas or something. I want to make sure it looks consistent throughout. The cure and seasoning has been added to the meat. We've mixed it together. The meat, you can tell, actually is tacky now, and we've got good color throughout. There's no red spots left. That means we have a really good mix with our seasoning in there. Everything has seasoning in it. So now it's time to start stuffing. Now, I've got the stuffing tube on the grinder. We're going to use the grinder to stuff. I'm going to switch it on to our stuffing setting, start putting meat here in the tray. We'll get a casing ready. We'll put it on the tube here and we'll start stuffing. I like to use these totes to help catch blood or water that may be coming out as we're stuffing. So I'll keep the meat here and we'll start stuffing our casing, and as it comes out, I'll hold it, but if anything comes out, it'll be caught in this tote, and then we'll tie it off and we'll put it in this larger tote. And this tote is where I'm going to store all the summer sausage logs once we're done. So we'll start stuffing. I'm going to get a casing and we'll slide it on and we'll turn on the grinder. So the casing has been soaking in water. I'll go ahead and I'll wring out all the water, and I'm not only wringing out water, but I don't want air in there. So I'm trying to slide out all that air, wring it out really well, and then we'll put it right over the end of the tube, and I'm going to bunch it up. Now, this is really important. We want to bunch it up and kind of leave it loose up here so we can easily let it slide out. But as we're stuffing, we want to be very careful. We don't want any air pockets in here. So we're going to go nice and slow, and we'll kind of roll it back and forth, pushing the air out. And you got to hold this pretty tight on the tube. If you go loose, it'll start pushing out, and you will actually let the meat go around the tube and it'll get backed up on you, and then you'll have air inside your summer sausage. So we want to hold this pretty tight and just let it feed itself and really watch the air. For me, it's easiest to kind of hold this on my left hand, and then with my right hand I can feed the meat down into the grinder. Trying to let it get as full as it can and trying to keep that air out of there. This casing's pretty tough, so if you're holding it pretty tight and letting it get packed, if you're using a natural casing, like if you're doing more of a thinner casing, you gotta be real careful or you have blowouts. I'm kind of feeling it. I want it to be very even and try to work it so I don't have any air pockets in there. So as you start coming to the end, you need to start watching it as you start coming to the end, because you need enough room to tie it off, but you don't want to stop too short and end up, at the end of the day you've got a bunch of meat left and no casings because you didn't fill your tubes all the way. So, and if you overfill, it's okay, you can just push that meat out. All right, that's about where I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn this off, and I'm just going to pull this off just like that, and then twist just like that. And you'll see I've just got about an inch of casing left, and this is, you'll feel this is very tight in here. I don't have any weak spots in the middle. Everything's together very tight, and that means we don't have any air. So I'm going to twist that off. Now I have some butcher string. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Now you could cut off the end. There's a little extra string on this log, but I had some butcher string, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'll get that knot started, and then I'll really twist it and pull that really tight. And that way we don't have any air in there. Make that really tight, just like that. Our first log is complete. I feel throughout, there's no weak spots in there, which means we don't have any air. So this is a good log. We're gonna go ahead and set it in the tote and keep on stuffing. All right, we have everything stuffed. We're going to put it in the fridge, let it cure overnight, and we'll pull it out and be ready for the smoker. It's going to be a good day because today we're smoking the summer sausage. We let it cure overnight in the fridge. We've already preheated our smoker to 110. It's time to get these puppies in the smoker and we'll start drying them. We're going to let them dry at 110 for a while, and then we'll start increasing the heat. We'll add our smoke later. So we're going to go get these in the smoker. The summer sausage has been drying. We've increased the temperature to 120. Now it's time to put in the sawdust. So first thing I'm going to do is put this Cabela sawdust in the pan, about 3/4 of the way full, dampen it with water, and then what I'll do is kind of make a funnel where we'll build up on the sides and have a lower spot in the middle. We'll put the pan inside. We'll close our dampeners to about 3/4 of the way, and it'll start smoking. Now you'll notice when I put the summer sausage in, I gave it enough spacing, that way that smoke and airflow can get all the way around there. We want really good airflow, so whether you're hanging it or putting it on the rack, make sure you have good airflow. So our sawdust is on the pan here. We're gonna go ahead and close it up. We'll close the dampeners to 3/4 of the way, and it'll start smoking. I've been increasing the temperature 10 degrees every hour. We're up to 140. Now it's time to remove the sawdust. So I'm going to very carefully open it up, remove the pan with the sawdust in it, and then we'll increase it to 150 for another hour. Once the summer sausage internal temperature reaches 155 degrees, you can pull it out of the smoker and then put it in an ice bath to let that internal temperature start cooling back down. Once the sausage is cooled, let it hang and dry at room temperature for a few hours just to allow that to bloom so that summer sausage doesn't shrink down inside the casing. Now it's time to slice it up and start serving to your friends and family. We've made a nice batch of summer sausage. If you want, you can store it in your fridge if you're going to eat it pretty fast, or if you want to store it or give it to friends and family, what you can do is you can slice it up and package it in that vacuum sealer and keep it fresh. You can even freeze it for several months. I'm going to start packaging this summer sausage, save some for later in the winter, but I'm also going to be slicing some and giving it a taste test. Man, it's a great tasting snack, and even better, you know exactly where the meat came from, how it was handled, and you're providing high quality, great tasting meat to your friends and family. I hope you've enjoyed our Field to Fork series as we've walked you through gutting, skinning, and deboning a deer, and then coming into the kitchen and sharing some of our favorite recipes. Man, that is good. There are many great ways to enjoy venison, and I hope you're able to bring home some great tasting meat after your next hunting adventure.